I didn't wake up one day and decided to quit. It was slow. It was quiet. It was a quiet build-up over time until one day I just found myself thinking, you know what? I can't keep doing this. If you've ever felt this way, and I'm not just talking about teaching, but in life, where the pressure keeps building, then this episode is for you. I almost quit. And the truth is, it wasn't because of one thing. It wasn't because of that. It was the constant pressure, the expectations, the feeling of no matter how much I gave, it was never enough. I really didn't talk about it. I just carried it within myself. And a lot of times I know that we all do that. We don't talk about everything that we feel. We just keep it to ourselves. But there was a moment where I seriously thought about quitting. Just walking away. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much. It was exhausting. And I know you're probably thinking, she keeps talking about this caring too much. And it's true. And I'm going to give you an example of that. As a teacher, sometimes you could be on vacation. Sometimes you could just be anywhere. And you're looking at something and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, that's going to be really great for a lesson or for my students. Or, it's like you're always thinking about them, even when you're not thinking about them. That's what I mean by when you care too much. And if you're a teacher and for any amount of time, at least over a year or two, you know what I'm talking about. You do know what I'm talking about. If you've ever felt like that, you know what I'm talking about. Where everything just keeps piling up sometimes. And with burnout, I just want to tell you something about burnout. Sometimes it's not always a breakdown. Sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, it's burned out. People start to act crazy and strange and stuff like that. And that's not it. Sometimes it's quiet. Because we show up every day. We do what we're supposed to do. We smile, we push through, things like that. But inside, we are tired. We get tired. I know I do. I don't know about you, but I get tired. Tired of being needed sometimes. Tired of having the responsibility. Tired of feeling like there's always more to give. Because, the more you do, the more they expect from you. Especially as a teacher. And I'm quite sure in any occupation that you have, the more you do, the more they're going to expect from you. Guess what? That's why sometimes we're running on empty. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. I remember being in that space several times throughout my career. Just going through the motions sometimes. Trying to convince myself that I was okay. This is just something that's going to pass. I'm okay. And then something happened. It was something small. Again, if you're a teacher, you understand this. In those moments when we're like, you know what, this is it. I'm sorry. I've given all I can give and whatever. I'm not doing this anymore. A child comes to you and they tell you how much they appreciate you. A parent comes to you and they tell you how much they appreciate and what you've done. It's always at those moments, those pivotal moments, when we're like, whatever. That's when God's like, say, I see you. He whispers to us, I see you. I know you're there. And that's when you want to look up and go, okay, God, okay. It's like sometimes you be like, give me a sign. Give me something, right? And that's what he does. He gives us a sign. He gives us that something that we're looking for. And I realized as time went on, I began to have students come back. And they would tell me the things that they remembered about what we did. Because, I've taught from kindergarten to 5th grade. And even though I've only done elementary, it does touch me when my parents, when I see them out and about and they tell me about how their child still talk about me. And it also touches me when I see my children, well, I call them my children because I say, once you mine, my students come back and they tell me as well. Sometimes I remember the things that they say, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, okay, we did do that. Oh, okay, all right. But you know what? Recently, I had a student. She came back. This was about maybe a month ago. She came back and she came to see me. She wanted to see how I was doing. She wanted to know if I was still at the school, right? She was doing her student teaching. Wow. Out of all the things she could have done, out of all the jobs she could have had. And I was like, girl, you came back to check to see if I was there? She was like, yeah, I remember those times. I remember when we used to do music and we used to learn this and we learned that and you used to always do this and that. And I was just like, wow. Because I'm going to be honest with you, at first I did not remember her. I didn't. And then she said her name and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, there's certain students you just kind of like, okay, right? And I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. And it just, I don't know. Something else that touched me that she said was, of course, she's getting into education. And of course, a lot of people, we know it's not an easy profession to get into. But a lot of people weren't, they were telling her all the negative things about teaching. And there are some things that's stressful and it's challenging, it's all of that. But, I asked her, I said, are you sure? And she said, yeah, this is what I want to do. And she says, you're one of the reasons why. And I was like, whoa, hold on now, right? But I said, you know what? I am so thankful that I had a little small part, that whatever seeds I might have planted and, that you felt that it was worth it. And, I said, is there anything that I can do to help you? Let me know. And she was just saying that how I was one of the few people that encouraged her. Because, of course, anybody that's in education, they're going to probably tell you, child, please don't do it. The pay isn't right and all the headaches and the stress and all the stuff like that. It's just not worth it. But she was like, you know what? Thank you so much for encouraging me. And she said, I figured you would anyway. So I was like, She caught me on a good day. No, but I mean, again, it's those little moments is what I'm trying to say. It's just those little moments. I don't know. Over the years, I keep realizing again and again that we don't know the impact that we are having on people. We really don't. But it doesn't mean that it's not there. There are people who remember you because of how you made them feel. And that's something that sometimes I think we forget, especially when things are not going the way how we think they should go. We forget that we are making people feel a certain way. I've had students that invite me to their graduations. And again, I am just floored when that happened because, again, like I said, I teach elementary. So whether I taught you in kindergarten, second grade, third grade, or fifth grade, for you to think of me, that you want me to come to your graduation. Now, I would think maybe middle school, maybe high school teachers, because you just, you're with them. But you thought of me to want to come to you, because a graduation to me, that's personal, right? So I'm just like, I don't know. It just does something up in here. It does something up in here. I don't know. It just does something up in here. Sometimes I don't even remember some of the things that they say, but they're just like, it made them feel a certain way. That's the part that we don't talk about enough. We focus so much on what's going wrong and all the negative that we forget about the positive. We forget sometimes about the lives that we actually do touch, because we do touch lives. But we don't realize it because it's like, it reminds me of that saying about the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And that's it. Because you can have a classroom of 20, 25, or how many you may have, and there could be 2 or 3 kids that you got to keep saying their names. And you remember their names, you just say them all the time. And you have 16, 17 students that are there. They want to learn. But we're always focusing, and I get it, believe me, I do. I do. But we do focus on those students instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, I still got 16 good kids right here. But you know what? This isn't just about teaching. This is about all of us. People are watching you. They are. Every day, at work, at home, in your community. And you may never hear it. You may never get that thank you that you deserve. You may not never know the moment that it really mattered to them, because a lot of times people don't share it. They just go like, wow, you know what? This person really made a difference in my life. But we don't always go and tell the people that we, that made a difference in our lives. We don't share that. But I just want you to know that you are making an impact in people's lives. So when I said that I almost quit, I meant it. I was tired. I was overwhelmed. Sometimes I was just questioning, like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, did I really hear that calling? I don't know. But then I started thinking about those moments, those little small moments, the ones that don't show up on a checklist, the ones that don't get measured that way. I realize it's never just about the hard days. It's about all the things that we experience. If you do the little T chart, pros and cons, things like that. We have to realize that we can't just focus on one aspect of what we do. And as you can tell, I did not quit. I'm going on 20 years in education. And I'm thinking to myself, all the seeds that I planted. Sometimes I watered them. Every once in a while, I might have seen the bloom. I might have seen students come back and say thank you. I might have seen some out and about. I've been at restaurants and I've had students come up to me as I'm eating and saying, oh my gosh, wait a minute, you're Miss, And I'm like, oh yeah, I am, And it just lets you know what I did make a difference. So I just wanted you to know, I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me and allowing me to just share some of these things that I've been through. I really appreciate it. And I just want you to know that the things that you do, it matters as well. Whether you are getting ready to retire and you have said, you know what, I have done my due diligence. I have put my time in. I have seen enough children graduated and they have thanked me. And I have said, you welcome, right? It is time for me and my next chapter. It's okay. Because you have made a difference in a lot of people's lives. Whether you are still in this and you're like, I got to get up the next day. You know what I'm saying? I got to get up the next day and I got to do this all over again. I just want you to know that you made a difference in somebody's lives. Even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I know it don't. It don't feel like it at all. But we do. We make a difference. If you're in a place right now where you feel like walking away, where you're feeling overwhelmed, where you might be questioning if all of this is worth it, just know this. You do matter. You are making a difference. Even if you can't see it yet, you are making a difference because you are making people feel a certain way. You are. And I want you to realize that. And maybe that's just enough reason to keep going. So again, I would like to say thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I want you to know that I do read your comments. And I really just want to inspire I want to encourage all of you, regardless of you in education, regardless of whatever it is that you're doing. So again, I thank you. I don't want to ramble on, but I just want you to know how much I really do care. I really do. So until next time, don't forget to like, to share, subscribe, and don't forget to comment down below. Okay? So until next time, well, hold on. I got to get out of here. It's getting hot in this car. I'll talk to you later. Bye.